What's your biggest retirement question? Whatever it is, you'll find answers here. It's time for Ease into Retirement.
Time once again for another edition of Ease into Retirement. Thank you so much for tuning into the program with Tom Mosley, founder at Mosley Wealth Management, and myself, your host here, Mark Killian, along for the ride as we talk investing, finance, and retirement. Tom's got 30 plus years of experience in the financial services world and a great team put together to help you get to and through retirement. But you got to reach out to them and take some action and see if they are the right fit for you and you are the right fit for them. So give them a call and get started with that complimentary written retirement blueprint for yourself of your very own, right? So about your situation. 855-526-1600 is the number to call to make that happen. Again, no cost or obligation, so reach out today. 855-526-1600. They've got offices in Anaheim, Arcadia, Encino, Ontario, and San Diego. 855-526-1600. Again, 855-526-1600. You can also do the Zoom thing if you'd like as well. But the important thing is take some action, get started today. Tom, my friend, how are you this week?
I am doing great. Good to be back with you.
Good to be back in the saddle with you as well. And we're going to kick things off with a 80s movie classic, Tom. We're going to do a little financial advice from the, God, it makes me feel old, the 40th anniversary of the comedy classic of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Came out in the spring of 86. And I graduated high school the next year, so I'm feeling kind of old talking about that. But anyway.
Unfortunately, I had graduated from high school a long time before that, but I was going to seminary at that time, way back when.
In the mid-'80s? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Well, we're going to take some lines from the movie. It's a classic movie with a lot of great lines, and of course the music as well, which has been used in like every commercial under the sun for the last 40 years. But we're going to have a little fun with some of this stuff. We always try to do these fun little things that try to get people thinking, Tom, about maybe finances in a different way, not just a straight same old kind of thing, right? Because sometimes people, it's not their bag or they feel like it's boring or, whatever. So we try to shake it up a little bit, have some fun. So let's go into Ferris Bueller here. One of the quotes from the lines in the movie is, "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it." Perhaps the most famous line from the movie, right? Simply because the whole purpose, and for people who haven't seen it, which is probably very few, but he's skipping school and having himself a grand old day with his best friend and his girl, right? So talking about enjoying life, smelling the roses, if you will.
So many people don't know how to do that.
It's
They
hard.
really don't. I watched a 5-minute clip of the movie last night just to refresh my memory with all the little nuances of the movie.
Right.
And, that's the major quote of the movie right there. Life's fast. People don't stop and smell the roses is another way to say it. And I love it when people come in to retire and they say, well, yeah, I've got unlimited pullover of all my vacation days and I've got 1,260 hours of vacation. It shows they haven't taken a vacation in so long. And I'm looking at them sometimes and I'm thinking, you're going to have a tough time in retirement. On June the 8th, I will have done this 31 years and of this year, 2026. Uh-huh. And, I've seen so many people that if they come in with that ton of vacation days, they just don't know how to take time off. And if they've got a huge 401k sometimes, they don't know how to spend money because they've always been in the mode of saving money. Now, unfortunately, some of my kids have undone that, on themselves. But some of my kids have learned how to save money. I've got 5 kids, and some of them know how to save, and some of them know how to spend. So I guess it all equals out. But some people just don't know how to take and spend money in retirement because they still think they're in that saving mode. And I think one reason that I want to eliminate with all the people that I work with is if they're not spending money, I don't want it to be because they don't understand that we've put together a plan together for them so that they have income for life, so that they're going to have their income set for the rest of their life. And that's what we do when we build that retirement blueprint. The foundation of that is income. And a lot of people, what I'm saying, Mark, is a lot of people who are listening to me out there, you're not enjoying your retirement because you've got a hope strategy strategy. You're hoping that your money lasts because you've got it in investments just exactly like your 45-year-old kids or your 50-year-old kids, and you're hoping that it lasts. Well, a retirement blueprint takes that lumber yard of what you've put together and builds a house that you can live in retirement and be secure in it. That, hey, my income is set, my inflation is going to be taken care of, my investments are to my risk level, my taxes, I know what they're going to be, my health care is set, and my legacy, when I am gone, we're going to leave it the right way. That's what a retirement blueprint does. But I hope that some of you are not taking, George and Myrtle's day off because you're afraid that you're going to run out of money because you don't have that proper plan to show and to see that your money's going to last as long as you do. That's what we endeavor to do with our clients when we sit down, meet with them, and put together a plan.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So you got to have that strategy because life does move pretty fast. In the movie, Tom, in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, his best friend who he runs around with, Cameron's father's got an amazing car in the garage, right? He's got a 1961 Ferrari 250 GT California Spider. Now, little fun fact for you, because the car itself was actually too rare and too expensive, they made a replica for the movie. It's actually an 85 Medina Spider because they just couldn't afford to put the one in there. That's how rare the car is. But the idea of it was, right, if you've seen the movie, people know that they take the car out for a joyride, and of course Cameron's distraught because they only ever look at it, right? And so sometimes people kind of maybe do that with their finances or with their portfolio. They build this great nest egg, Tom, but then they just kind of want to sit and look at it instead of maybe using it.
Yeah, your bank statement's not going to make you a great retirement. Your 401k balance is not going to make you a great retirement. That's what I'm trying to stress with so many of the people that have been really successful in building those things. And it's like an icon that they just look at it. That money is built for you to use. And you know what's sad to me is I sit across the table from even some of my good clients sometimes, and they want to buy a fifth wheel or a motorhome, or they want to buy a house in Havasu, and they want to go on that extended vacation to the islands in the South Pacific or to Europe, and they want to do this and they want to do that, but they're so afraid to do it. And then I've in 31 years, I've seen that couple pass away, and guess what? That money gets spent in the South Pacific and in Europe and a motorhome and in Havasu by their kids, because their kids are going to spend it right off the bat. I mean, they just sit there and they look at it like an icon, like we've got to keep it, and they don't use it for a vacation. They don't support the causes or the charities that they want. They don't even use it to secure the family, and they're always afraid to spend it. Well, I guarantee you, I know somebody who's not afraid to spend it. It's your kids. So you better go enjoy it, because your kids are going to spend it just as soon as you're gone. So go use it. Don't set it like a trophy car or a trophy 401k, but go use it. Have a trophy retirement so that people can look at your retirement and say, man, they're having a great retirement.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go to the last one here, Tom, on the quote. We had several written down, but I think this one's a great way to wrap up this segment. And the line in the movie is, the question isn't what are we going to do? The question is, what aren't we going to do, right? Because they're having a big fun for the day off, right? And so I think you got to ask yourself the right questions in retirement, not only about what you want your retirement to look at, but how you want to accomplish it.
Yeah, I know. To get the right answer, you got to ask the right questions. And when people plan for retirement, so many times they get caught up in all of the wrong questions, like, do I have enough? But instead, the question that you need to start asking yourself, do I have what I need? Do I have so that I can enjoy what I need to enjoy in retirement? I can reach my goals. Does my financial plan, do I have enough money to support that? And once you start asking those questions, see, the question is not how much do you have, but how long will it last to do the things you want to do in retirement? Some of you have a retirement that's just coming at you like a freight train. I mean, it's going to be here. And you say, well, freight train, that'll be the great day because I won't have to do anything. let me tell you something. You're going to be busier in retirement than you are right now, because you're going to have everybody in the world is going to want to fill your time. You're going to want to fill your time. I have people come in all the time and say, how would we ever do all the things we're doing now if we weren't retired? We're retired and we're busier than we've ever been. Do you want that kind of lifestyle? I mean, that's the kind of lifestyle that you want in retirement. So now, instead of going and working for a boss or working for a company, you've got enough money to go and do the things that you finally want to do. Nobody's telling you what to do, when to do, where to go, what to do when you're there. You've got actually the freedom to go and enjoy and do that. Here's what comes back to me, Mark, so many times. I don't really have the freedom because I don't know that my money's going to last. And that's what, again, we keep drilling this home, that's what a blueprint will do for you. Because we start with a blank piece of paper and we say, okay, how much income do you have coming in retirement? How much do you need to support that kind of lifestyle? And then if there's a gap, we fill that gap, we fill in your income and say, okay, you've got the income to support your lifestyle. That's your paycheck. Then everything that's left goes into your playcheck. That's your playcheck to go and enjoy and do it. And when do you need to do that? You need to go and enjoy and do in your 60s and early 70s, because by the time you get to your upper 70s and to your 80s, you're going to be tired. You're going to be to the point in most cases where you're not going to feel like doing those things that you always wanted to do. But we saved our money for this, Tom, but you don't have the energy to do it now. So that's why you need a plan that addresses your lifetime income. And once it's different than a 401k. That doesn't do that. That gives you a lump sum. This gives you lifetime income. You address that for inflation. You consider taxes. You consider health care. You consider your legacy and how you're going to leave it. But you also consider your income. That's the major thing in retirement, having enough income to live the life that you're wanting to live without running out of money before you die. That's the major thing that a retirement blueprint will do for you.
Well, if that sounds good or sounds interesting and you want to learn more, then get yourself onto the calendar for a complimentary consultation. Come into one of the 5 offices and get started today with your written retirement blueprint. 855-526-1600. That's 855-526-1600 for that conversation. Or maybe you want to learn more, go online and check out some of the tools, tips, and resources at MosleyWealthManagement.com. That's MosleyWealthManagement.com, MOSLEY, wealthmanagement.com. Or again, just call and schedule some time that works well for you. 855-526-1600 for your written retirement blueprint. This is Ease into Retirement, and there's more to come today, so stick around. We're going to talk about old accounts on the other side right after this commercial break, so don't go anywhere. 855-526-1600.
Your retirement is too important to leave to chance. That's why Mosley Wealth Management hosts in-person seminars across Southern California, created to give you knowledge you can use right away. Upcoming events include optimizing your Social Security benefits so you don't leave money on the table, estate planning essentials to help protect the people and causes you care about, and women in retirement, unique strategies tailored to today's female retirees and pre-retirees. Each event is educational, engaging, and gives you the chance to ask questions directly to Tom Mosley and his team. Seating is limited, so reserve your spot today. Click the seminar tab at MosleyWealthManagement.com or call 855-526-1600 for upcoming dates and all the details.
Back here for more of Ease into Retirement with Tom Mosley, founder at Mosley Wealth Management, serving you here in Southern California. And Tom, we're going to talk a little bit about older accounts on this section, because a lot of people have stuff just sitting around collecting dust. And, you know, I imagine when people come in to see you for that written retirement blueprint, they've got sometimes they come in with just a collection of things. Here's a box full of stuff. You guys help me sort this out, right? So there's lots of different folks out there that do things differently. But if you need some help, that's what the retirement blueprint's all about. It's helping you get organized and set up and strategized and building a plan and a strategy for you. So give them a call, 855-526-1600, to get started with that complimentary written retirement blueprint, 855-526-1600. Tom, you ever had somebody do this? I was talking with an advisor years ago. It said somebody came in with a picnic basket, and he thought, oh, this is an interesting way to start the meeting. They brought a little picnic basket, and they dumped it out, and it was just full of documents and stuff, and said, help, right? You ever had something like that?
I've had people come in with a brown paper bag, and literally half the statements, this particular couple I'm thinking about, half the statements weren't opened.
Oh, no.
And it was everything in the world they had, and they had no idea what they had. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. It wasn't just that they had collected it all. They put it in a brown paper bag and not even opened half of them.
It terrifies some people. It really does,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So old 401ks might have been in there, right?
That's probably the most popular one, because especially little 401ks, but that little 401k you had when you were in your 20s, if you had $5,000, $10,000 that was put into that, and you say, well, I didn't put that much money into a 401k, but your company might have matched and you had that money in a 401k, and once you leave that company, it stays there unless you move it. Now, there's 4 things you can do. You can leave it there. That's perfectly fine as long as that company's alive and they stay in contact with you. You can leave it there. You can roll it into a new 401k at the new company you're working with. Number 3, you can move it with a rollover. You can roll it over into an IRA, and that's going to give you more options. It won't give you the credit protection that the 401k will in case you get sued, but it will give you more options. Or number 4, you can cash out. It's probably not a good idea if you're under 59 and a half and you don't need the money, because you're going to have to not only pay income tax on all of it, it's going to raise your income that amount of money for the entire year, but it's also going to be a 10% penalty if you're under 59 and a half. So you got to look for those old 401ks. Why would you leave it? I don't really know. It's not managed. It's just in an assortment of funds.
It just kind of sits there, right?
It just kind of sits there. You could roll it over into your current 401k, but many times your current 401k still has only 20 or 25 options. I saw one recently that had 12 options is all that it had in it. And you're not as open to options and different kind of investments that you might want to use to build a plan as you would be if that third option you moved it over into the IRA so that you can continue to grow it. It can be managed by you or by a financial advisor. Or number 3, cash out if you really need the money. And I'd caution you against that, because you've put this money away for a purpose. Try to leave it there as much as you can. But there could be an old 401k sitting around somewhere. Now, here's what I do find, Mark. People come in and they say one of 2 things. Number 1, they'll say, we found out we've got an old 401k we'd forgotten about.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or when I start going through that brown paper bag or whatever they bring it in, nobody's ever brought a picnic basket. I would hope they would bring a sandwich or something if they did.
It's a picnic basket.
And I know some of my clients, when they come to see me, are going to bring me a sandwich because they listen to this show, and they're going to bring me a sandwich.
If somebody brings a picnic basket, that's going to be great. I'm just saying.
I know. Yeah. It'll be great. And I'll take whatever sandwich you bring me, I promise you.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, when we go through it, they start looking, and I say, what's this account? Well, I don't know. And we start looking, and they find account like a 401k account that they'd forgotten they had. And oh yeah, I remember when we worked at that company, Myrtle, I had a 401k or one of them four things, you know what I mean? So and you got to understand, knowing what you've got is really important. It's one of the biggest positives of just coming in and meeting with us, even if you've got another advisor, is it gets all your stuff together, because your other advisor sometimes just works with the accounts that they're working with. They don't work with the 401k, and they don't work with your life insurance or savings accounts and those kind of things. They don't know what kind of insurance policies you've got. Working with us and building that retirement blueprint, we're going to pull it all together and look at the whole picture. And as we get a whole picture, it allows us to project into the future and say, this is what you need. This is where we would see you going.
Yeah. And if you want some help with that, it's 855-526-1600. 855-526-1600. We're talking about old accounts. And so, Tom, the next one on our list here of old accounts is life insurance. Many people have, they throw them in there and they just had them for 20 or 30 years.
Life insurance that you've had for 20 and 30 years is probably not a bad idea, especially because that means it's probably a whole life policy. It might have been a smaller policy of $25,000, $50,000 I've seen. Saw one recently for $75,000, and it had grown because of the money in that policy had grown over 27 years, I think it was, in this policy that I looked at, and that policy was now worth $115,000. Get a load of this, tax-free upon their death to their beneficiaries. That's the positive of life insurance. So you might want to evaluate your life insurance policy, though. You may, if it's a term policy and you're getting close to the end, you may not need to renew it. You may no longer need the policy. Most of the time, if you've done a good job of savings, you've got enough money without the insurance policy, and you might find wisdom in just doing away with the more expensive policy that it would cost you to buy at your larger age now, your older age. And or you could probably, you may be eating away at the cash value. Then you might have one of those old indexed universal lives or variable index universal lives that, oh yeah, you can quit paying the premium, but they're still going to get their premium out of your cash value.
Good point.
And your cash value is just, it's doing like the Pac-Man. It's just going down, every single year. And you don't even realize it unless you understand the policy. That policy is good as long as that cash value is growing. So you might be able to either cash out of the cash value and use that money for something else because it's going to get eaten away with the life insurance policy. Eventually, it's going to get down to zero, usually at the most inopportune time. And then they're going to start banging on your door for a huge premium because that premium is going to go up sometimes with some of the policies every single year. So evaluate your life insurance policy. Let us look at it because we can tell you whether it's a good policy. I don't really like to just replace a policy because if you bought it 30 years ago, you got it at 30-year younger rates, and you're going to have to buy it at 30-year older rates many times with health issues and health problems. And so I don't like to replace one. Every good life insurance agent wants to replace that policy. We're not life insurance agents, we're financial planners, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to replace a life insurance policy you bought years ago because it's got good cash value and it's got a lower rate.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of reasons why we kind of have this stuff accumulated, right, Tom? So
Yep.
You want to make sure you're dissecting some of that and giving that and working with your advisor to help you be efficient. Pension funds, do you see that with the old accounts as well for those folks who maybe still have one?
There are some pension funds, and some of those pension funds are locked because, pension funds, there used to be, I read in a statistic one time about 2 years ago that there was a time in the early 70s where 63% of the people were covered by a pension fund. Didn't mean that 63% of the people had them. But the stay-at-home mom was covered by the working dad on the pension, or the stay-at-home dad was covered by the working mom on the pension.
Right.
So 63% of the people were covered. Now, that statistic is down to 16%. So it's gone from almost 2/3 to 1/6 of the people are covered by pension funds. But what that did was a lot of companies moved away from the pension funds and they moved to 401ks or 403bs if it's a nonprofit, or 457s if it's a governmental entity. So what you've run into is they've frozen a lot of those pension funds. You can't put any more money into it. And you might be able to move that money out and put it into a better growing portfolio. Now, there's several things you need to realize. That pension fund will pay you an income for life when it eventually matures, 62, 65, 67. There usually are options on those. Or it might pay you a lump sum now that you could move into another IRA. It'll be a qualified money and that you haven't paid tax on it. So it's important that you keep the qualification correct with the taxes. You don't want to put yourself behind the 8 ball in taxes and have to pay a lot of taxes on that pension fund money. But you can either use it as building part of an income plan, or you could use it as part of building an investment plan for the future. There are all kind of ways you can use it, but if it just sits there at a lump sum and it's drawing a very, very low interest rate, you've got an opportunity to roll it. And there's different ways. When you have a pension, and you start to take that pension. I mean, there are very few people who really understand the ramifications of taking the different pension options, because most of the time, if you're married, you can take it on your life only, or your life and your spouse's life, or your life and half of the income would go to your spouse after you're passing away. If you're looking for the most money, you're going to take it on just your life. But if you're looking for the most money for your family, if you go first and you don't take 100% benefit to the spouse, then when the spouse is left, they're going to have a drop in income. And are they going to be able to survive that drop in income? You say, what happens if they can't? They have to sell the house. They have to move into a condo. They have to downsize. They have to do something that they might not really want to do because you took the wrong pension option. So don't just go into there blindly and say, well, all these pension options are good. They're all going to bless me. No, they may bless you, but they may curse the people that you leave because you took the wrong option. So that old pension fund that's sitting there, don't go to sleep on it and just take whatever some HR person who's making $18 an hour, $20 an hour, could make more at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Those people are not the ones to give you direction on that pension fund. You need to get some advice from a financial advisor before you take that election on the pension fund.
And Tom's team is here to help with that. 855-526-1600 to talk with the folks at Mosley Wealth Management. 855-526-1600. Just one of many questions you may want to ask and get answered when it comes to building your retirement strategy. So get your own complimentary written retirement blueprint today and talk about some of those old accounts you may have. Bring in the picnic basket or the paper bag full of stuff and get it sorted out, get it going, get started today. 855-526-1600. That's 855-526-1600. This is Ease into Retirement, and there's more to come right after this.
Here's the truth. It's not just about how much you've saved for retirement. It's about how much you actually get to keep. And taxes could be one of your biggest expenses in retirement. That's why we created 𝗙𝗲𝗿𝗂𝗋𝗇𝗏�burden.com. In just 3 simple steps, you can uncover your potential retirement tax bill. Step 1, enter your information. Step 2, get your immediate no-cost report. Step 3, discover strategies to help you address your tax liability. It's fast, it's private, and it can help you protect the retirement you've worked so hard for. Don't wait until tax time surprises you. Go now to 𝗙𝗲𝗿𝗂𝗋𝗇𝗏�burden.com. That's 𝗙𝗲𝗿𝗂𝗋𝗇𝗏�burden.com and start preparing today.
Back here for the third quarter of Ease into Retirement with Tom Mosley, founder at Mosley Wealth Management. And you can find them online at mosleywealthmanagement.com, MOSLEY wealthmanagement.com. Click on the seminars tab or the different tabs to check some things out, maybe RSVP to an upcoming event. But get started, 855-526-1600. Get some time on the calendar, whether it's to come out to one of these events or just to come on into one of the offices, the 5 offices, and get a blueprint started. But the events are a great way to get more information and education, really drill down, as Tom said, on some topics that are important, and certainly Social Security is a big one. So 855-526-1600 for those. They're all complimentary, or go to mosleywealthmanagement.com. That's mosleywealthmanagement.com. And if you are driving along and you got a chance to jot it down, it's 855-526-1600. I like to joke and say use a pen, pencil, crayon, lipstick, whatever you got to write on.
You said eyeliner the other day.
Eyeliner last time, yeah. Lipstick this time, whatever you got.
Hey, you know what, Mark? Last week I had a lady came in. Her name was Gladys, and she was real early, and I was up at the front getting the PowerPoint all ready, and she said, "You're Tom Mosley." She said, "I just listened to you on the radio this morning." She said, "Oh my goodness, can we do a selfie?" So yeah, I went over and did the selfie with the lady. Please don't ask me to do a selfie when you come, but I will if you want me to. I'd rather give you a copy of my book, Ease into Retirement. I can give you that for free. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
But yeah, I just think it's funny sometimes. I guarantee you I'm nobody special. I just like to meet you and like to help you in any way we can. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
right there.
That's hilarious you say that. I was talking with another one of the shows I host, and it's a podcast out in Tennessee area. And he said he was at the grocery store and he was talking with the cashier, and they heard his voice. The person in the next line said, "Hey, I listened to your podcast. I recognize your voice." And he's like, "It's the weirdest thing."
Yeah.
He's like, "But I'm glad they're listening, and I'm glad if it's helping, then that's great, you know?" So that's the point. So
I'm popular for sure with one thing in my life, and that's my 16-and-a-half-year-old little '𝗿𝗵𝗄 Nico. And when he waits at the door for me to come home, and wherever I am, he sits within 2 feet of me. I'm his human being. So I know I'm really popular with one person, and outside of that, I'm winging it after that.
Isn't it funny how you call them a person because they are like people, right?
Yeah, they are.
So, all right. Well, 855-526-1600 to attend one of the events, to come out and meet with Tom or meet with the team. Whatever you need to do, take some action for yourself. Give them a call. Get onto the calendar. Come out to one of these great seminars that they put together, or just pop into one of the offices and get started with your complimentary written retirement blueprint. 855-526-1600. Tom's got a team all put together of advisors to help you in their 5 different offices there, along with his amazing support staff. So give him a call. Tom, in the first 2 segments of the show, we dropped some 80s references. We did a little Ferris Bueller reference. We did a little Pac-Man reference. I'm over 50, so some of our listening audience is over 50. Here's a 90s reference for him. We're going to talk about keeping some things separated on this section of the show. There was a song by The Offspring in the 90s called, I forget what it was called, but the big tagline, and it was got to keep them separated. So there's our 90s reference. But these are some things that, when you're thinking about your financial life, should these things, Tom, be distanced, right, from each other, right? Should we kind of have some space in between some of this stuff? And I'll let you kind of explain here what I mean to the listeners in a second. But for example, your emergency fund and then money in the market, right? Those are things that really need to be separate. They don't need to live together, right?
Well, let's put your emergency fund in the market.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
Yeah, and the market goes down 50%, and because the market went down 50%, you lose your job, and you need your emergency fund. If your emergency fund is in the market, you're down 50%. Okay, so it's only half the emergency fund that it would have been if you'd have left it in a money market, in a bank, and somewhere where it's not making great money, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's safe. It's secure. It's going to be there when you need it. Now, let's put your stock market money in the emergency fund. The problem with that, a couple of years ago, CD rates and interest rates popped up, and so it was pretty good. You could get 4 or 5% on CDs or money markets at the bank. I got a 5.25 at my bank on a money market even, for a short period of time before they started dropping it and not telling me, but they started dropping it when the rates went back down. But if you're in the stock market, historically, you're not going to make the money for growth in the bank that you've historically made in the stock market through the years. So you need to separate them. Your emergency fund, and listen, when you get to retirement, so many people say, well, I'm in retirement. I won't have the emergencies anymore. Well, do you still have a refrigerator? Does your car still have a transmission? Do you still have a roof?
Yeah.
Do you still have health that you've got to deal with and deductibles that you've got to pay?
Yeah.
You're still going to need an emergency fund, and that needs to be part of any plan. On our walls, in all of our conference rooms, we've got yellow money, green money, and red money. And the yellow money is money that's in the bank. Yellow is caution. When you're having an emergency, you need some money in the bank or somewhere where you can get your hands on it as part of any sound financial plan. If your advisor is telling you to put all of your emergency fund money into the stock market, I really want you to think about that. I don't think it's a wise idea.
Yeah, you certainly want to keep those things separated. And you might want to do this with your investments and your life insurance too, Tom. And again, think about this. I'll take us back, unfortunately, to a few years ago when, the social distancing issue with lovely COVID there, right? So think about like social distancing for your money, really, is kind of how we're talking about some of these things. You don't want your life insurance and your investments intermixed, I would assume.
Anything that's got insurance attached to it is a risk protection.
Okay.
Let me show you what I mean. You get life insurance in case you don't live long enough, and your family can pay off or have money to pay off the house, the Parent Plus loans, all of those things that you run up, your credit card debt, all of those things that we see on a regular basis. That's what life insurance is for. In the stock market, in your investments, those are there for growth. Those are there to put at risk. Those are there because you're going to make traditionally, nobody can promise anything, but you're going to traditionally make better money by putting it somewhat at risk. That's the reason the greater the risk, the greater the reward is an old saying that doesn't always come true. But you don't want the greater the risk, the greater reward when it comes to life insurance. When it's life insurance, you want the protection. When it's medical coverage, you want the protection. When it's Medicare, we just, and I mention this every show, some of you need to call in. You're 64 and a half years old. You're starting to get a tree in your mailbox every single day of all the papers that they're sending you regarding Medicare. Right. And the more you look at it, the harder it is to explain and to understand. We've got one of our advisors, all she does is focus on Medicare. Call in and say, I need to talk to Samantha about Medicare, because it's really important that you get A, B, C, D, G, G+, F, F+, all of those things all lined out. And we haven't even talked about Medicare Advantage and doing all of that. You need to have somebody explain it to you so that you can understand it rather than confuse you. So insurance and investments, make sure you keep them separate.
Very true, very true. Tom, I got one more for you. Now, I want you to kind of explain these for folks that they may not understand what I'm talking about here. You want to separate your high turnover investment strategies, if you'll explain what that phrase means, from your non-retirement assets.
Okay, your non-retirement assets. Your retirement assets are in what's called qualified plans. That's your IRA and your 401k. And when the money comes out of those, you're going to be taxed on just whatever comes out. You don't pay tax on those if they're regular IRAs and regular 401ks. You don't pay tax on those when they go in. So when it comes out, it all comes out as regular income. So you're not really concerned about selling stuff that's highly appreciated that would cause a capital gains, because capital gains don't apply to qualified plans. It comes out as regular income. But your high turnover investments, where you buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell, creating phantom gains or really high capital gains, you're going to get hit with a 1099 maybe every single year on those things, even if you didn't sell anything, just because internally in those investments you did sell something and it created a capital gain. If some of this is over your head, that's why you need to talk to an advisor, because some of you are selling stuff in those non-qualified plans. Those other high turnover investment strategies are great. They're great for making more money as long as you do them wisely and you have a great deal of luck with the market, but it could cost you a lot in capital gains that you're not looking forward to, expecting, and planning on paying. Whereas those qualified plans won't have that on a year-to-year basis.
Okay, well, look, you got to keep some of these things separated. And to Tom's point, a lot of times this stuff can get a little confusing, and it's just not something we deal with every day. So no shame in admitting what you don't know and reaching out and getting some qualified professional help. And that is where Tom's team comes into play. So reach out to them at mosleywealthmanagement.com. Again, mosleywealthmanagement.com, or call at 855-526-1600 for your complimentary written retirement blueprint. 855-526-1600. Again, 855-526-1600. Take the action now for your retirement and your retirement future. And stick around as well, because there's more to come here on Ease into Retirement. We'll be right back.
What does retirement look like to you? Travel, more time with family, volunteering, or giving back? Whatever your vision, you need a plan to get there. At Mosley Wealth Management, it's not about cookie-cutter advice. It's about knowing you and building a strategy you can trust. That's why we offer every listener a complimentary retirement blueprint. It's a step-by-step guide to help you understand your income options, uncover tax savings, and prepare for life's what-ifs. You've worked too hard to leave retirement to chance. Call now for your personalized retirement blueprint at 855-526-1600. That's 855-526-1600. Don't put it off. Your retirement is too important. 855-526-1600.
Time to take some email questions from listeners just like yourself all around the area on Ease into Retirement as we close out the program this week. If you've got questions, and you probably do, reach out to Tom's team and get started today with your complimentary written retirement blueprint. Get those questions answered. He's got 5 offices and a team of advisors and support staff waiting to help you. All you got to do is reach out to him at 855-526-1600 and schedule some time in Anaheim or Arcadia, Encino or Ontario or San Diego, depending on whatever's closest for you, or even via Zoom if you'd like to do that as well. So call the number 855-526-1600. No cost, no obligation, no reason not to pick up that phone and get started today. 855-526-1600. All right, Tom, my friend, let's start in the Calabasas area with Miss Rhonda. She says, sadly, my mother passed away a few weeks back, guys, and I'm trying to get her affairs in order. I've been tasked with going through her belongings. While doing so, I discovered that she literally hid money under the mattress and in her drawers and in her cabinets, everywhere she puts. So far, I found about 12 grand, holy moly, in cash tucked around the house. How should I handle this kind of thing, Tom?
Well, Rhonda, I got to tell you, I relate to your mother, okay? Because when I pass away, they're going to find $20, $40, $60 in every drawer, in every books and everything. So I'm telling people who might be attacking my home. But anyway, if you're
my grandmother used to hide it in a coffee can in the backyard, apparently, way back when. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I've seen it hidden in foil in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I'm not foil in the refrigerator, so leave my refrigerator alone if you break into my house, okay?
Yeah, that's right.
But if you are, Rhonda, the executor of that estate, and there are other brothers and sisters or heirs, you have a legal obligation, I would think, a moral obligation to split that money with them. And trust me, I've seen this. I used to be in home sales with Rascal Scooter Company, and you'd be surprised where people pull out $100 bills, rolls of $100 bills. So if your grandmother, $12,000 is a lot of cash to be tucked away different ways. You need to keep looking, because in the least expected ways, you're going to run into those kind of things. I think if you're splitting that with anybody, you need to let your brothers and sisters or other heirs know about it. And you don't have to split every single $20 bill when you find one, but just get to a certain amount and split it up. But as the executor, you're pretty much obligated to do that, and it's the right thing to do.
If she's the only one, Tom, and so with the cash situation like that, right? So she can just do whatever she wants with it, right? Is there any kind of reporting stuff she needs to do or anything?
Happy days are here again.
Okay.
And, I would say that would be something to talk with who's helping you with the estate.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say something that is illegal, and you might have an obligation to report it, but that would be something that was a little bit out of my ballpark.
Gotcha.
If you can invest it, bring it to us. We can do something with it. But if you need to know how to classify that on the estate tax issue and what goes on there, then that's something you need to talk to the authority on that.
Yeah, that's a good point, because depending on the size of the estate and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll tell you what we know, and we'll tell you if we don't know it too.
Well, and you guys certainly have referrals as well. So if she needs some help with an estate, an attorney to help with some of that stuff, you guys can certainly guide the way. Of course, you're going to reach out to Rhonda, but I had a girlfriend years ago, Tom, whose grandmother had dementia. And she had it in like hat boxes and stuff everywhere. So it's pretty common, right? So definitely, if if you've got a situation like that, definitely reach out to the proper, financial team, right? The estate attorney, get the CPA involved, get the financial advisor involved. So it's important to have all those pieces when we're still here, as also when we pass. So Tom's team's here to help. 855-526-1600, 855-526-1600. All right, let's see what we can do for John over in Delmar. He says, I'm later in life, Tom, and recently engaged. This is going to be marriage number 2. Should we do a prenup is the first question he has. Obviously, no one hopes for divorce, but it's happened once before, and my finances took a pretty big hit because of it. I wouldn't want anything to ruin all that I've worked for, especially on the second go-around with time getting short. So what do you think? What's your thoughts there for folks that are maybe doing a second or third marriage?
Yeah, unfortunately, I like the idea that marriage is just love and beautiful and flowers and hearts and roses and stuff. But unfortunately, I've seen the other side of it
Sure.
too.
Yeah. Life is life. Yeah.
I think that if there are assets to be involved there, you need a prenup. I wish my dad had a prenup when he remarried, and he was remarried for 14 months. And
Oh, wow.
the lady for free has lived in a house that I own now for 12 years and a half years and not paid a single thing for taxes or upkeep or anything. It was part of the homestead situation in Texas. So I think it's really important. And it's not that you're protecting yourself against the person you're marrying. You're protecting yourself. Now get this, because I've seen it multiple times. You're protecting yourself against the person that person you're marrying is going to marry after you're gone. Because if there's no prenup, if there's no laying it out, then what you're going to run into is an issue where when they remarry and then they pass away and that person they married has access to the assets, access to your assets it will mean that your children many times get left out, that it gets mingled with other children. And let's face it, the odds of a first marriage going south are pretty high, but the odds of a second marriage going south are even higher than that the last time I read anything about it. So you got to be really careful. I would probably tell you, John, get a prenup, because that way you're covered. And if they don't want to agree to a prenup, you got to ask yourself a few whys as to why they don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. There's no win on that.
No, really isn't.
Well, you don't love me if you get a prenup. Well,
yeah, life is definitely. We've created some interesting things in the world, that's for sure. So tough spot to be in, John. But I think communication is going to be the main place to go, obviously. And so maybe sitting down with an advisor, talking some things through together, and then maybe making those next moves together might be the way to kind of stave some of that off as well. So 855-526-1600, your number to call to get started with your retirement blueprint, 855-526-1600. All right, final question this week, maybe. We'll see if we can squeeze one more in, but we'll see. Linda in Fontana says, Tom, I'm 62 and recently found out I'll need a major surgery, knee replacement on both sides. She says, ouch. I was planning to retire at the end of this calendar year, but considering doing it sooner now because of the recovery time. But if I retire, how does that impact my health care? Any thoughts?
Well, you're going to have health care. You might have to COBRA your current job, and you can do that for really significantly up to 18 months. The problem is at 62, that's not going to get you to Medicare.
Yeah.
I have had a lot of our people who have been in similar situations to yours, and what they've done is they've continued to work, and the company gave them time off to have the surgery. Many times when you have major knee replacement on both sides, they don't do both sides at the same time. They'll do one, and then they'll come back later and do the other. If you're still working, you have access to that health care. You may have some kind of short-term disability available to you. You may have other benefits to you. And you're not going to be able to get on Medicare at 62 unless you qualify for some of the exceptions. You're not going to be able to get on Medicare at 62. You're only going to have to wait until you're 65. So what have I seen people do in your situation? Continue to work. And they continued to work, had one knee done, went back to work, had the other knee done about 6 months later after the full recovery was there. Then by the time they were 65, then they retired, and they had another couple of years of work, another couple of years of 401k. I've had people go ahead and quit, and they COBRA'd. I've had people go ahead and quit, and they got covered California. You're going to be able to get it, and I've had people wait for 3 years until they get on Medicare and have Medicare take care of the knee replacement. So your situation, it needs to be considered in a bigger picture of what's your overall financial situation and what kind of assets do you have. If you do retire at 62, it might leave you in a more advantageous position to wait until you're 64 or 65 to retire so that you have more money in the 401k, you have more income from the job. You need to talk to us.
Well, at the end of the day, there's so many pieces and moving parts that come with retirement. We talk about it often here on the show, that building wealth is one phase, but distribution, preservation, the retirement phase is completely different. So many other things that go on, and that's what the Retirement Blueprint's all about. It's to help kind of deal with all these different facets and pieces that we're not ready for, we're not, never seen before, and also how they interwork and play together. It's different from person to person to person. So get your complimentary written retirement blueprint today underway, no cost or obligation with Tom's team at Mosley Wealth Management. All you got to do is call 855-526-1600 to get started. 855-526-1600 to talk about your pain points. What is it that's concerning or worrying you in retirement, and get those addressed and handled. 855-526-1600. Again, 855-526-1600. As always, we appreciate your time here on the program. This is Ease Into Retirement with Tom Mosley, founder at Mosley Wealth Management. I'm your host, Mark Killian, and we'll see you next time here on the program. Have a great week, and tune in next time for more content from us right here on Ease Into Retirement. 855-526-1600. Thanks, folks.
Mosley Wealth Management is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered by duly registered individuals through Mosley Wealth Management, Inc., MWM. Mosley Insurance and Financial Services are affiliated companies by common ownership. License number 0K76766. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal, and any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Mosley Wealth Management, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Mosley Wealth Management. This radio show is a paid placement.